Welcome in, everybody, to Breaking the Huddle. I'm Joel Klatt with you every single week. This show every single week is brought to you by Dr. Pepper. It is the official drink of Fansville. And by the way, it's absolutely delicious. Lots coming up on the show. My new top 10, as well as a rundown of why I think the SEC East is maybe a one-team race at this point. We're going to have Sam Ehlinger on the show after that big comeback win over Texas Tech last week. We've got the UT quarterback in on the program. And then I'm going to break down some of the best performances of the week. KJ Costello, Kyle Trask, and Kyle Pitts, and Sam Ehlinger. We've got our X's and O's segment. And then we'll get to the social media, all the snark that you can possibly handle. That's coming up a bit later. But let's dive in right now to my current top 10 teams in the country, and let's see how they look. And it's a little bit different, of course, with OU losing, LSU losing. Texas is going to stay in there at 10, although they slid back just a little bit after their performance against Texas Tech. Notre Dame's still in there. Miami makes their appearance. There we go, Canes. 3-0 are the Canes. Penn State jumps in. Georgia falls to 6. Auburn to 5. I don't know how confident I am at Auburn at 5, but I am confident in those top 4. Florida, Alabama, Ohio State, and Clemson. A couple of notes real quick. Miami, you jumped into the top 10, and you know what? 3-0. Well done, Manny Diaz, and more importantly, well done, De'Aaron King and Rhett Lashley. Lashley, the offensive coordinator, has come in, and with De'Aaron King there at quarterback, they look really good and maybe a legitimate threat to Clemson in that ACC. I can't wait to see how this season moves forward for them. But remember now, they scored 5 straight touchdowns in their 5 opening drives against Florida State and beat them down. I mean, my goodness, what has happened to Florida State? It's certainly not the Florida State that I remember, but that was a dominant victory, Miami over Florida State. Some notes about Ohio State. They're number 2 in my poll. I know the AP doesn't have them as high, but remember, some people are not voting for them right now, and some people are going to wait until they play. So look for them to jump up once they start playing games all the way into that 3-2 spot with Clemson and Alabama. And then Wyatt Davis, their great guard, and Sean Wade, their terrific corner. They have been cleared to play. Remember, they opted out, then they opted back in, and they have been cleared to play. So there's that there coming up for the Ohio State Buckeyes. But I wanted to sit real quickly on the SEC East because I think it's turning into a one-team race. Florida looked really dominant, and their offense, to me, looks like it could be dominant all season long. First and foremost, you've got Dan Mullen there at Florida, and this guy is now 22-5 since coming to Gainesville. Okay, so he's building something and has built something that is really quality there with the Florida Gators. They're top 3 for the first time since 2012, not in my poll, but in the AP poll. And they've got a quarterback and tight end that I think might be the best combination quarterback receiving threat maybe in the country. Pitts is unbelievable. Kyle Pitts. More on him later in the show. Kyle Trask, unbelievable performance. Those two guys are terrific, but it's more about what they're fixing within their offense, because we knew Trask and Pitts were going to be really good, but they're fixing their run game. Their run game was the second worst run game in the SEC last year, second worst. And then they come out this year, and against Ole Miss, they ran for 196 yards and 6.8 per carry. So they're fixing their run game. If they get that run game, along with their quarterback and tight end, and they can get some play action, then sky's the limit for that offense. Then you contrast that with the other contender in the East, which is, I think, the University of Georgia. And Georgia did not look good. Now, granted, they might get better, in particular as they get some clarity at the quarterback position. But in Todd Monken's first game as the offensive coordinator, the offense looked terrible. They've got to figure out what's going on. Now, JT Daniels, the transfer from USC, was not cleared to play in the opening week. Remember, he had that knee injury from a year ago. But he has been cleared now moving forward. So we'll see if he gets the keys to the car, and he might need to, because the run game, which we thought was going to be dominant, was not dominant. They ran it against Arkansas for 2.9 yards per carry. That's not going to get it done when you're trying to figure it out at the quarterback position. And now look at the murderer's row that they've got in front of them over the next 3 weeks. Georgia plays number 7 Auburn, number 21 Tennessee, and then number 2 Alabama. So if they don't get that quarterback position figured out, they could be out of this SEC East race before they even get to their bye. So that's a problem there for the Georgia Bulldogs as we take a look at what's going on in the SEC East. And then real quickly, for Penn State and Ohio State, a lot of people upset that I included them in the poll. Wait until they play. Wait until they play. Listen, I didn't wait to include the SEC teams while they didn't play for 2 or 3 weeks before after we were seeing Clemson and some of these other teams play. And so I'm not going to wait for the Big Ten teams. Penn State, Ohio State, they're my number 7 and number 2 ranked teams in the country. Can't wait to see how the games play out this week. I will be down in Austin to check out my number 10 team in the country, the Texas Longhorns. And now Sam Ehlinger, quarterback at the University of Texas, joins us here. And Sam, first of all, thank you for joining us. And second of all, wild comeback last week in Lubbock. You guys, I tell you what, that last, 3 minutes or so was crazy. Take us into the huddle on the sideline. Were you guys panicked at any point or pretty calm that you thought you could come back?
Joel, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. We really weren't. We were very calm, and it was almost like we didn't really believe that we were going to lose the game. And so we kept telling ourselves, we're still going to win this game. We're still going to win this game. And with about 3 minutes, we ended up turning it on there at the end and came back. I'm just very thankful we walked out of there with a win.
Well, and I think to a large degree, you guys can take this as a huge positive because in past years, in particular when the defense wasn't playing well, maybe that went the other direction, but this was different. Why is this team different, maybe from a leadership standpoint, in terms of, approaching a game like that or a situation like that and reversing an outcome from past years?
No doubt. I think the past few years, if we had gotten in that position, there's a low likelihood that we would have found ourselves on the other side of it and where we are today. But I think to answer your question, it has a lot to do with the leadership that we have. A lot of guys have more experience, older guys. Obviously, we got 7, 8 guys back on defense and around there on offense as well, and good leaders on both sides of the ball. So just continued experience and leadership as we continue to work on that to keep our guys going regardless of what's going on.
Weird off season for everybody, and everybody that I talk to says the same thing. Hey, I wish I had a really experienced quarterback coming back. Well, you guys do, right? And Coach Herman even and I talked about that over the course of the summer. But you do have a new offensive coordinator. So Mike Yurcich comes in as your offensive coordinator. How different is your system, if at all, and how has he helped you so far here in your last season in Austin?
Yeah, I would say the system. There's a lot of new schemes, a lot of new concepts in the pass game. Obviously, you got pretty traditional formations that are going to be uniform across most offenses, but definitely some new terminology. And I've really enjoyed getting to know him. He's very professional. Love the way that he conducts business and leads the offense. Very attentive to detail, and so I'm continuing to develop in his system, and I think everybody on the offense loves playing for him.
What can we expect from your wide receiver core? Because at least on paper, it looked like you guys were going to be a bit inexperienced. Devin Duvernay is no longer there. By the way, wild kick return, how fast he was on Monday Night Football. I'm sure you were psyched to see that. But you do get Tariq Black in. When you look around at your wide receiver core, tell me what you have trust in and what you like on the outside.
Yeah, we have a lot of really talented guys, a lot of athleticism out on the perimeter. And so there's 5, 6, 7 guys that have a chance every Saturday to make big plays. And so I feel very comfortable with those guys. Building the chemistry is a work in progress, and we're continuing to do that to solidify, 1 or 2 guys. The last 2 years it's been Devin and Colin and Lil Jordan and things like that. So it's more by committee this year so far. But there's a ton of talent in that room, and every guy has an opportunity every Saturday to have a big day.
So this week, Gus and I and Jenny heading down to Austin. Can't wait to see you guys play in person. But you get TCU, and it's a defense that you struggled with last year. It was probably your worst performance of the year. What'd you learn from that? And what do you hope to take forward into this game to maybe correct that?
Yeah, Coach Patterson and the TCU defense, they always are extremely well prepared. They do a great job of forcing the offense into tricky situations. And so it's always, we're going to have our hands full. They always present a challenge to offenses. So looking forward to continuing to develop within this offense. Obviously, we're going to have practice today and continue to get better and focus on continuing to get better. But we'll definitely have our hands full, and I'm looking forward to it.
Listen, I got to know your family a little bit, came down and did a feature on you last year, and we went to your family home. So my best to your family, but what do they have prepared for you for tomorrow, which is your birthday? Happy early birthday to Sam Ehlinger. Yeah, man, what do you got on the docket this week in a big birthday week?
Well, I appreciate it. I actually, because I know our weeks are going to be so crazy and tomorrow will be so crazy with practice, I actually have an exam tomorrow as well. I got to go back home last night and have dinner with the family and kind of have a little birthday celebration then. So we got it out of the way.
I love it, man. A test on your birthday. That ain't right. That ain't right.
No, I know it. It's all good though.
Well, hey, listen, keep up the quality play. You've been playing amazing. 10 touchdowns so far on the season. Coming up in a little bit, I'm going to break down those last couple of concepts that you guys had in order to tie the game and then, or excuse me, score the touchdown and then the 2-point conversion to tie the game. So from your point of view, before I talk about them, take me through those two last concepts here as we finish up, and what were you seeing?
Which last two?
The touchdown to bring you within 2, and then the 2-point conversion, so regulation.
Yeah, we work a lot of tempo situations, and that last play, the touchdown to Brennan Eagles, that was one that we had been working quite a bit. The inside receivers kind of run up to the goal line and sit. If they don't get the ball, they work out to try to bring that hook curl flat defender out, and then we have outside digs running through the back line of the end zone on the outside. So we're trying to put the ball in the back line and space it out with the inside guys and then wrap inside. And Cade and Brennan did a great job of executing that up top. And then the 2-point play, that was a play that we've had in. We actually got it from West Virginia. They ran it against us 2 years ago.
I was going to say, that's the exact play that West Virginia beat you guys with 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was a great play design, so we decided to steal it. We ran it in the Sugar Bowl, and then we also ran it last year against Oklahoma State. Different variations. That's the cool thing about it. And we came up to the line, and we knew we were probably going to get man coverage, cover 0. They like to bring that in pressure situations. And we said, hey, Brennan, what do you want to run? You want to run a fade or you want to run a slant? And he had one-on-one coverage, and he's like, I want to run a slant. So it sounds good. So it came up to the line at first. They had 2 linebackers over there, and I didn't know if they were going to be coming or not. And I was about to signal fade. I'm glad I didn't, because I saw their demeanor and knew they were going to be blitzing, and we'd have that window right behind them. So he ran a great slant route, and it came open, and we were able to tie it up there at the end.
I love it. I love talking ball. Hey, Sam, always great chatting with you. Best of luck this week, and we'll see you down there in Austin.
Appreciate you. Looking forward to it.
Now let's get to Sam Ehlinger and what he was able to do at the end of the game there against Texas Tech. First and foremost, he's got the formation here that's empty backfield. So his running back is out near the slot. He's going to use that running back to keep the middle safety over to the left with his eyes and open up the seam route right down the middle for the huge touchdown. His eyes do a great job. They have a little switch release here with Moore, who then gets vertical. Beautiful throw right there from Sam Ehlinger, because it takes him away from the defender who's coming over from his left. Look at this ball is just on the back shoulder enough that he's able to find that seam, and they get the touchdown. But that's not the most critical play of the game. You got to tie it up, and he knows it. See how calm he is right there? So they get into a great formation here. 4 at the top, 1 at the bottom for one-on-one. He's got to see, can he throw the wide receiver screen, run the QB draw, or go one-on-one? Well, he's got 4 defenders and only 3 blockers for the wide receiver screen, so you don't want to do that. Does he want to run it? Nope. 6 defenders, only 5 offensive linemen, so he's going to go down to the one-on-one. It's a 3-option play. He picks the perfect option. He gets a blitz from the linebacker. He calmly throws the slant, and it's a 2-point conversion, good for Brennan Eagles. Tie ball game, and we're going to overtime, and Texas would ultimately win that game. A frenetic comeback, but it was all about execution late that was able to get it done. And Sam talked about that there in the last segment of just going through the progression, understanding what the defense had and what they were giving him, and they were able to successfully tie that football game and go on to win. So there you go. Some awesome performances. Good on you, KJ Costello, Kyle Trask, and Kyle Pitts, and Sam Ehlinger. Welcome back. Time for a little Klatt back. All right, let's get to it. Let's get to the social media. Snark David Gibson chimes in. He says, Joel, Have you ever seen Revenant? Don't ignore Bears. David tweets this at me in reference to the fact that I did not have Treston Ebner on my performances of the week. Ebner had a great performance for Baylor, great all-purpose performance. And the problem is he did that against Kansas. So, David, you better run for or catch for whatever 1,000 yards if it's against Kansas. In particular, in light of what was going on around the country. KJ Costello was a performer of the week for me. He set an SEC record for passing yards in a game. Oh, he did it on the road at Death Valley, a team that just went 15-0. I had Skylar Thompson in there, the quarterback for Kansas State. He set a career high passing yards, well over 300, in a win at number 3 Oklahoma on the road. Second straight year he's beaten the Oklahoma Sooners. So that was pretty good, I would say. I had Kyle Trask and Kyle Pitts in there. They went bananas against Ole Miss, two of the best players in the country. Trask threw for 1 million touchdowns. Pitts caught 4 of them. They were great. I had Miami in there. They beat Florida State by more than they had beat them since 1976 in Bobby Bowden's first year. So that was a great performance. Then I had Sam Ehlinger in there, 6 total touchdowns, brought his team back from 15 with 3 minutes to go. So I'm sorry. Yes, I've seen the Revenant, and yes, I'm afraid of Bears. But Treston Ebner did not make it into my performances of the week. We move on. Paul Height says, who do you think the 4 undefeated teams will be, or can a 1-loss team make the Final Four this shortened season? Not only do I think there won't be 4 undefeateds, I think at most we're going to have 2, maybe 3 undefeateds. I think right now, if I was going to say, these are the teams with the schedules can go undefeated, it'd be Clemson and Ohio State, maybe UCF in there. So I think absolutely we're going to have a 1-loss team into the Final Four. And the thing that I think is most interesting to me is that we might have a 2-loss team with the SEC schedule, how it's built, and the absolute bear that is the SEC schedule. I think that we could see an SEC team with 2 losses make a strong push to get in the playoff. We've seen it in previous seasons. So if there's a year where we're going to get a 2-loss team in, it might be this year. So, Paul, there you go. We move on to Gary. Gary RTR, this should be good. Roll Tide rolled. A&M almost after that performance against Vandy today. Did you run out of teams? Yes, I ran out of teams. You make a top 10. After you go past 4, it's like, who should we put there? There's nobody to put there. Think about it. I put Auburn at 5 in my poll, but do they really look like the 5th best team in the country? Probably not, right? Who did you want me to put there? Georgia? They certainly didn't look very good. Miami, felt weird putting them all the way up there at 5 after starting where they started. Penn State hasn't even played. Notre Dame has looked okay at times. Texas just struggled with Texas Tech. Oregon hasn't played. Would you want me to put UCF up there? I don't quite believe in UCF to that point. So, Gary, yes, I ran out of teams. Roll Tide roll. Thank you very much for that observation. So that's going to do it for our Klatt back. And, I just ask you, please just bring a little bit of sense to this conversation. Did I run out of teams? Yes. Everybody is running out of teams. You can't make a top 10 or a top 25 right now without running out of teams. It's just an incredibly thin year. But speaking of this year in college football, Gus, Ginny, and I are heading down to Austin, Texas. Can't wait to get back there. The last time we were there, West Virginia and Texas played an absolute thriller there in DKR Stadium, and we can't wait for this one. Sam Ehlinger and company are going to host TCU. TCU took it to the Longhorns a year ago. Their defense played absolutely amazing. Ehlinger threw a bunch of interceptions, so he looks to get back on the winning ledger, and Texas looks to continue their hot streak so far, in particular after that comeback. So it's Texas against TCU, Big Noon Saturday, noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, right after Big Noon Kickoff, as Gus, Ginny, and I will bring you all the action on FOX. Thank you for watching Breaking the Huddle. I love bringing you this show. I love college football, and thank you to Dr. Pepper for always being there to support us. Remember, Dr. Pepper, it is the official drink of Fansville.